Good evening. I'm Karen Strickland. Welcome to our meeting of the Citizens for Informed Land Use, or as we prefer to call it, CILU. Again, I said I'm Karen Strickland. I share the presidency of CILU with Regina Crisione, who is here participating from home. We work closely together to promote CILU's mission. We also thank you to Mary Rose, if you'll see her on the screen. She is another CILU member who is our IT backup. So we have backup to backups built in here. CILU is a nonpartisan grassroots homedale group that has been working since 1998 to protect our open space and natural resources. Our mission is to promote government decision-making based on open communication with an informed electorate. Over our 22 years of existence, we have been successful at advocating for land use decisions to preserve our open spaces and parks, build nature trails, and protect our watershed. You can see evidence of the work members of CILU have done all over Homedale. Some of these include the 97-acre De Palma farm on Centerville Road, saved as farmland, or the 20 acres on east side of Laurel Avenue, south of Route 35, which is now the Mahoris Greenway Nature Area, or, and again, the 103-acre F&F Nurseries, which was saved as farmland and is part of the Reminiscent Brook Greenway. As part of educating ourselves, we have invited Ms. Checco to give us a presentation on the plastic pollution. She is project director at the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, which is known as ANJEC. She leads the plastic pollution reduction program at ANJEC and will explain components of the New Jersey S864 Plastic Pollution Reduction Act, which was signed by Governor Murphy in November and which will take effect in May of 2022. S864 is considered the nation's strictest single-use plastics law in an attempt to reduce harm and pollution to the environment. New Jersey is the 9th state to ban single-use plastic bags and the 1st state to ban single-use paper bags from grocery stores. So I think she'll be talking about that. Ms. Checco's organization, ANJEC, is a 51-year-old nonprofit organization that educates, empowers, and mobilizes New Jersey environmental commissions, green teams, and other municipal officials to protect the environment. Ms. Checco is a member of the Coalition for the Delaware River Watershed Plastics Work Group and board member of the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. Big, long credentials, very impressive. She holds a master's degree in organizational development from Columbia University and a BS degree from the School of Business at Rutgers University. Ms. Checco's presentation will be followed by Janet Jekyll of the Homedale Green Team, who will speak more specifically on how we can follow law and recycle in Homedale. Our meeting is currently being live streamed on the CILU YouTube channel, so people who can't be here will be able to see it. Speakers are very generous with their time to join us this evening. So if you have questions, hold them, listen carefully to the presentation to see if your question is answered. If it is not answered, then look at the bottom of your screen to the Q&A and write your question in there. I will ask it out loud and the speaker will answer it. So without much further ado, Ms. Checco, if you would like to go ahead and begin, we would be happy to have you.
Be happy to do that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And Karen, can you see that?
Yes, it looks beautiful.
Okay, very good. So thank you so much, first of all, for having me here at tonight's presentation. I really appreciate it. As Karen said, my name is Nandini Checco and my nickname is Deanie, so feel free to call me that. And I'm just thrilled to be here on this cold winter night, but you can see from my background, I'm trying to get some warmth in by this beach scene. So as Karen mentioned, yes, so I work for ANJEC with the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. And we are a private nonprofit statewide organization, and we help environmental commissions, municipal officials, and green teams across the state, and we help them with a wide range of topics from site plan reviews, open space planning and preservation, local ordinances, etc. And really, honestly, I'm so touched to be invited here by CELU. And kudos to Homedale's active volunteer residents. I'm really impressed by the green team, the open space, and the Environmental Commission, and CELU as well. So in fact, ANJEC gave an Environmental Achievement Award back in 2015 to Monmouth County Park Commission for the trail signs and information panels at the Manasquan Reservoir. And currently there is an open grant that you folks just won, the Environmental Commission, to work on the Ramesseum Brook Greenway Trail. Hopefully, Karen, I got that name right. You just told me how to pronounce it. So here, this 2020 grant is an open space stewardship grant, and it's going to help with resurfacing eroded trails, extending the boardwalk, and adding maps at the kiosk. So congratulations for winning that grant, and I look forward to seeing how that is coming along, because gosh knows we really need open dynamic. So all of you are here tonight to talk about plastics. So because you are kind enough to give up your Monday night holiday evening, I know that you're probably really passionate about plastics and recycling. And so you know a lot already. But there's some new information that came out last December that I wanted to share with you folks, which is that unfortunately the US is the largest generator of plastic trash of any country in the world. You know, we've all heard the statistic that every minute one garbage truck of plastic waste enters our oceans, and that 8 million tons enter annually. And this research was led by Dr. Jenna Jambek back in 2010. And this is updated research by Dr. Jenna Jambek and Carol Lavender. And unfortunately, the US is also the second largest exporter of plastic scrap globally to countries where there's inadequate waste management systems. So we are number one in that situation, and we have a lot to do to help minimize our plastic waste. So from generation to waste change and environmental justice, more than 99% of plastic is created from chemicals sourced from fossil fuels, which directly correlates to an increase in greenhouse gas emissions. And it's also an environmental justice issue. Unfortunately, marginalized communities are disproportionately bearing the brunt. For example, we know that long-term exposure to air pollution increases the risk of mortality from COVID-19. But here, given the dire situation, we're proud that New Jersey has the strongest law in the nation to help deal with plastic pollution reduction. Did you know that half the plastic ever made was produced in the last 15 years? And single-use packaging makes up 36% of plastic. So this is a solvable problem. So I want to just go through the basics of the plastic pollution reduction law. Sorry, my printer is just going to go off for a second. I apologize. Hang on one second. Okay, so the basics of the law are that. So all single-use plastic bags bans excuse me, let me restart. So all single-use plastic bags are banned. And all polystyrene foam food services products are banned, and straws are upon request. So polystyrene foam, or commonly known as styrofoam. So if the store size is above 2,500 square feet, paper bags are banned. And this is for grocery stores over 20 feet. So all the local delis, the convenience stores, bodegas, all those will be available to have their paper bags. time frame, as Karen mentioned, for bags and styrofoam, that's going to be at 18 months, starting in May 2022. And there is a 2-year extension for spoons. Think about at 7-Eleven, those long spoons, meat trays, those yes.
Dean, we're having trouble with your audio. So I'm wondering, I'm going to go on my machine and turn off everything in the background and see if you have anything else on the background of your machine that's getting in the way. Sometimes they say if you have other things open.
Okay. All right, hang on 1 second. I really have nothing open.
Okay. All right. So let's come back and see if we got a comment from someone saying our sound was not as good as it should be. Okay.
Right. Is that better?
Right now it is. Right now it sounds really good.
Okay, great.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to restart on this one slide just so that I can take it through, because this is a really key part of the law. So the new law, the basics, thank you, Karen, was that all single-use plastic bags are banned and polystyrene foam food services products are banned. So that's also known as styrofoam. And the straws are upon request. So if it's a grocery store above 2,500 square feet, paper bags are also banned. And if there's stores under 2,500 feet, the paper bags are free. So majority of stores fall under that category. So if those are convenience stores, delis, the local bodegas, etc. Those are all under 2,500 square feet, and paper bags are free. So May 2022 is when the styrofoam and the plastic bag ban and the paper bag ban will go into effect.
Uh-oh. Deanie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Your picture is frozen, but all right, keep going. Is it my machine? There you are. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, sorry about this. I don't quite know what's going on.
It's all right. We're always learning something new.
Yeah, maybe
Let's go back to, you look really good right now. So you want to just go back to your screen sharing and see if that works?
Let's try this again. You know what I'll do? I'm going to turn my video off, because then that'll give it less. I'm going to turn my video off and just talk. Okay.
Okay. And share your screen.
Yes. Okay.
All right, good.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Karen?
Yes, I can.
All right, folks, I am so sorry about this. I really apologize. I don't know what's going on. But that's okay. This is the new age of trying to make things work. So I appreciate it. Okay, where was I? So we were just talking about styrofoam. Now we're moving on to straw.
Since we're talking right there. So you just said if the store size is above 2,500 square feet, paper bags are banned. However, if the store is a smaller store, then you can use paper bags. Is that what that means?
Yes, and it's specific. It's grocery stores over 2,500 square feet. And so what that means is items, grocery stores that have items that are temperature controlled. So even a store like a Walmart, because they sell groceries and they're over 2,500 square feet, paper bags will be banned there.
Okay, thank you.
Now, there was one thing that is starting later this year, which is straws, which will be upon request starting in November 2021. All right, the first question here are more things about the law. So does the state law override local ordinances? And the answer is yes, eventually, when the product type goes into effect. But I don't believe that's a problem from Homedale because you folks don't currently have any local ordinances. The penalties for businesses is that the first offense, it's a warning, and then it goes up to $1,000, and then a fine up to $5,000 for the third offense. And 70% of those penalties will go into the Clean Communities Fund, and 30% will stay with the municipality. And what is the funding source for education and reusable bags? That will be the New Jersey Clean Communities Program Fund. And municipalities can use your recycling tonnage and Clean Communities grant money to pay for reusable bags. There's also a Plastic Advisory Council that's part of the new law. And these folks here will be responsible for evaluating the effectiveness of the law. So you're wondering, a lot is banned, but what is allowed? A reusable carry-out bag with stitched handles. The key is stitched handles. So you'll see some stores, like I was at Trader Joe's recently, and they were very proud of their plastic bags that they were giving out. And they were saying that they were reusable, which I find very hard to believe. They were just slightly thicker than a regular grocery bag. At regular plastic t-shirt bag, let me clarify. And they had pressed handles. The stitched handles is what makes the difference. They are just made better and they last a lot longer. I have personally bags that I bought 10 years ago, and with properly sanitizing them and washing them, I continue to use them. So these are the other types of bags that's also allowed. So as you can imagine, just something for loose items such as fruits and vegetables, etc. This is a lot of information that I'm going through very quickly. I am also working on a New Jersey No Plastics website that will be released pretty soon. And that's going to have more information for you folks, from fact sheets, FAQs, press releases. And New Jersey Clean Communities will also be rolling out a Choose to Reuse campaign, and you can see the logo on the right-hand side. So the idea here was that we'll have consistent branding across the state, whether you're in Bergen County or down in Cape May. And the DEP will have the final responsibility for providing detailed public information about the law, and they'll have more information coming out in May. So the goal here is really to move from disposable to reuse. Recycling is not the answer, and we certainly don't want to replace single-use plastic with another disposable item. And honestly, reuse is the answer. Restaurants right now are spending thousands of dollars giving away disposable utensils and straws and bags to customers who don't even need or want them. And single-use plastic is not inherently safer than reusables. Even now, right now, with the spread of COVID, the CDC says that the virus spreads primarily from inhaling droplets rather than contact with surfaces. And there's more information on that on our website. So what can ECs, or environmental commissions, do now? And I'm going to open this up because you have such an active volunteer base in Homedale, to green teams and the open space and even CELU. So highlight those businesses in town that are already encouraging reusable bag use and alternatives to plastic and styrofoam food serviceware, and encourage folks to bring reusables. And here are some ideas about hosting green events, which I know is kind of challenging right now, but as much information as you can spread right now about choosing reusable is the way to go. And encourage businesses to check their inventory level, train staff, have them ask customers, do you really need a bag? Post signage and even do a plastic audit. And encourage straws and requests. Remember, that's starting later this year in November. Reusable metal straws. There's a lot of great products out there. And I do strongly encourage that. Education is going to be key. How about you personally? Voting with your wallet, choosing those products and businesses and restaurants that are actively working on reducing plastic pollution. Everybody wants to support local business. I certainly do. And when I give a call, I ask two things. First is, please do not include any utensils because I have all of those at home. And then the other thing I do is I ask if I can bring my own reusable container for my takeout. And even though I'm Indian, I still like to order Indian food because I just love Indian food all the time. And I don't always love to cook. So there's a local Indian restaurant around the corner from me. And just last week, I gave them a call and I placed an order and I said, I'm going to bring my own glass containers, just hold my order in the back. And they're like, sure. And that's what we did. So I went over there, brought my glass containers. They filled my glass containers. And it was fantastic because I didn't have to use anything disposable, and that worked out really well. So the other thing is really, to educate folks that plastic pollution is a public health crisis, climate change, environmental justice issue, and definitely spread that message of no PPE litter. So there's 129 billion masks and 65 billion gloves entering the market every month. That is a shocking amount of single use. So now is a great opportunity to not revert, a great time not to revert to business as usual, but really to build a stronger and healthier future for all. This is a solvable problem. I'm going to talk a little bit about recycling. Okay, so materials are a commodity driven by supply and demand, similar to the price of gold and silver. And right now there's massive global supply issues. And that's why right now, for as far as recycling goes, ones and twos have the most amount of value, but that can change. So we have to keep an eye out for that. But 1 and 2 symbols have the most amount of value. In general, though, you never want to put plastic bags in the recycling bins. Why is that? Because it causes a lot of problems at the recycling center, and it jams up the machines. And plastic bags are not recyclable, not through the traditional residential recycling. But you can recycle plastic bags that are clean and dry at stores. And I believe Janet Jackal, right after me, will be talking a little bit more about that. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but she will talk to you about plastic film and plastic bags. If you recall, I did say that the law exempts newspaper bags. So something like that can be recycled through this, the dry plastic film and bag program. This website, Plastic Film Recycling, can give you more information. And I checked out Homedale. It looks like you guys are doing something locally, but other major companies that accept him are Lowe's, Targets, and Kohl's. They will take clean, dry plastic film and bags. And don't forget the overwrap. I know that toilet tissue is very popular right now, and toilet tissue comes wrapped in a lot of plastic around it. All of that can go back to these places for recycling. The other things that are happening right now is there's a lot of shipping, and these air pillows that you see can be returned to the UPS store drop off. And they also take packing peanuts. They'll also take cardboard boxes too. And that's what I do with my stuff. There's a local store right around the corner from me, and I just save all it up and drop it off to them. And Recycle Coach is another great free app that's available through the county, and you can check them out and get more information on what to do with your recyclables. So there's also a fantastic organization called beyondplastics.org. And I'm going to encourage you to look at their website. And they do have a petition that you can sign, encouraging Amazon to have less packaging on their items. So Karen had asked me to talk about stormwater and green infrastructure as it connects to plastics. And there is a brand new requirements and a brand new stormwater ordinance that's going to be hitting New Jersey starting in March 1st. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So you see in the photo to the left there, unfortunately, that's a pretty common picture we see all over New Jersey, which is a storm drain that's littered. And it's specifically littered with single-use plastics. You see straws, cups, plastic bags, plastic water bottles, etc. And as we make our way to the middle photo, that storm drain, that clears out on a nice rain. I mean, it looks good for us because the streets look clean, but there's no way because it just gets washed down those drains and enters into our rivers and oceans where it definitely creates a lot of environmental degradation. And the other thing that happens when the storm drains are clogged is it leads to localized flooding. And that is the connection between plastics and stormwater. So stormwater, what we're looking at right here with the storm drains, that's just called gray infrastructure. So these are the pipes and the storm basins, et cetera. And when they get clogged with plastic pollution, it does lead to localized flooding as well. And all of this is actually called non-point source pollution. So with the new green infrastructure rule, not only are people required to use green infrastructure to treat the flooding, but there are new maintenance rules that ensure that the owner and the manager of the property properly cleans and maintains their green infrastructure. So think of how much easier it would be if during 95% of the storms, you didn't have to go and clean out your storm drain of those styrofoam cups and those plastic bags and straws, because not only has most of the water infiltrated directly into the ground, but we also have cut down on all that litter. So as I was showing you before, the landscape with the green filter, it really does filter the pollution of the rainwater. And then if we have just this, a lot of this impervious surface and just all this roadway, all these toxins are going to get washed away. So speaking of toxins, as much as I have a filter of a beach, it is wintertime. And I'm going to encourage you folks to be very careful with rose salt. It is a pollutant that impacts the water quality and is dangerous to marine and wildlife. So I'm going to encourage you to use it sparingly, unlike this photo here, and there's a lot dumped out. And be sure to use a commercial car wash all year round. They reuse their water, and the pollutants that wash out the cars are treated before they're released. And please do follow us at ANJEC.org. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me at info@ANJEC.org or ANJEC tweets, etc. And I look forward to answering any questions that come up. And again, I apologize for any problems with my video.
Okay, there you are. You're back again. Okay, put your video back on. There are a couple of questions. that there was one, I think, well, there was one who wanted to provide the statute, the rule, and the regulation. And then the other questions we'll answer after Janet gives hers, because I think some of this will be in Janet's. But what was the statute, rule, and regulation that is requiring the plastic bags?
It's a law, actually.
A law, okay.
The Plastic Pollution Reduction Act, officially, that's what it is. The Plastic Pollution Reduction Act that Governor Murphy signed back in November of 2020.
Okay, thank you very much. So you stick around, and now we're going to turn the screen over to Janet Jackal, and she lives here in Homedale. And after retiring from her career in optical communications research, yep, so speaker view, it's be me. Janet has been concerning herself with local environmental issues. She is a member of Homedale's Green Team, which provides sustainability in our town, and is an alternate on the Homedale Environmental Commission. She is also president of Friends of Homedale Open Space, which has a mission to preserve, protect, and maintain Homedale's open space. FOHOS, we call Friends of Homedale Open Spaces FOHOS, and CILU, our Citizens for Informed Land Use, are sister organizations. They were created at the same time by a lot of the same people to address the issue of protecting open space, but doing it from different perspectives. Janet Jackal is a very busy person here in Homedale, and we're very fortunate to have her living here and giving so much of her time to protecting the quality of life we have. So Janet, if you would like to unmute yourself and turn on your screen. And
okay, I'm unmuted. You can hear me?
We can hear you.
Good. Let me do a screen share now.
Okay.
Blink, share, and
There you go.
I'm almost there. Go. Come on. There we go. Okay.
Nice.
So I think this slide actually answered one of the questions.
Oh, yes, it did. See, I should have
plastic,
my own rules.
It was a Senate number 864, the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. And as you noticed from the previous presentation, lots and lots of plastic bags are banned under that rule, that law, but not everything. And so we have to see what can be done with the ones that are still going to be around. Well, this just repeats what the previous presentation said, so I won't dwell on it, and instead go to ask the question, does that keep all the plastic bags out of the environment? And the answer obviously is no, because there's all these other things. Okay, here are some of the plastic bags and similar items that are still allowed. One are things like produce bags, bread bags, the bags of sliced vegetables you get, all those kinds of things that you find in the grocery store. Then there's things like laundry bags, dry cleaning bags. Since I haven't done any dry cleaning for decades, I wouldn't know too much about that, but there they are. Newspaper bags. Every morning, go out to the street and pick up your newspaper. Those things really add up. And there are lots of other kinds of bags, but there's also things like packaging materials, wrappings, and so on, including the good old bubble wrap that so many things come packaged in today. Lots and lots of us are ordering things online, and you get a big box with a small item in it and lots of packaging wrapped around it. So the good news is that a lot of the plastics can be recycled, and even better, it's easy to do it. And not only that, some of these things we know how they're used. So it isn't simply that they go away and we don't see them, which you sometimes worry about when you put things in the recycling. But they actually do get used. So we'll start with the plastic bags. Any bags that you recycle have to be clean and dry, no food residue in them. If they look yucky, don't put them in the recycling. And they don't go in the curbside recycling. As was mentioned before, you get those plastic bags into the regular recycling, and then all that material goes sent through a bunch of machines that separate out, first they blow out the newspaper and the other papers, and I've seen some of this stuff. It's quite impressive, but the plastic bags can really gum it up, just stop the whole line. So please don't put them in there. There are a number of things you could do. You can drop the bags at any grocery store that has a plastic bag recycling bin, and very large numbers of them do today. They can go to the Homedale Recycling Center. And in that case, they get shipped off to a particular company, the name of which, unfortunately, I did not get from our head of Department of Public Works, but they're used to create some kind of a plywood substitute. And apparently this is very popular in places like Florida, where there's lots of voracious bugs that will otherwise chew their way through your plywood, and they won't eat this stuff. So that's great. In Homedale, we started off last year collecting the bags and sending them to a company, well, getting them sent to a company called Trex. And some of you may be familiar with this because it's commonly used for decking materials. So if you've had a deck rebuilt, either you use this stuff or you decided not to use this stuff. And they use all these bags that would otherwise end up in a landfill. Now, the reason we got involved in this is that they have a program where if a community or actually a school, which might be a nice school project, collects enough of these bags, you weigh them and let them know how much you have weighed, how much you've recycled to them, and it can earn us the wonderful award of a bench for one of our parks, which is really a nice thing. Unfortunately, right now that's not happening because when the virus came in, everything went screwy. And a lot of the places no longer wanted to take the bags because they didn't want to handle them. That's coming back, but meanwhile, our Department of Public Works has found another company that will take the bags. So either way, it's pretty good. But let me tell you about this recycling challenge because we might go back into it. Basically, we collect the bags, we get to 500 pounds, which is a lot of bags. It says over 40,000 bags. Then we report it to them, and if we get to the 500 pounds, we get our bench. So far, before the pandemic slowed everything down, we collected and reported over 250 pounds of these bags. So we can still do this eventually, but right now it's not the highest priority. What I would suggest though is that if you feel like taking your bags to some of the stores that are on this slide, and you weigh them before you go and you report it to me, I will put it in our spreadsheet and it will add on to the amount that we are contributing to this process. The people in the stores may not be aware of where the bags go. We discovered that, but they actually do go to Trex. They just go to a central collection point belonging to those stores. And I think the previous speaker also mentioned Target and Lowe's. The problem is we haven't been able to find out where to put those bags in those stores. Whereas, for example, in Kohl's, you can go back into the local Kohl's to the customer service department, and there's a collection point. And Whole Foods has a bunch of bins in the front of the store, and so does Stop and Shop. I'm not too sure about the other ones. Anyway, that's always a possibility. Just to let you know what can be recycled, again, I'm repeating a little bit from the previous talk, but any kind of grocery bags until they are no longer available, no longer legal, all the kinds of things that are shown here. And you'll notice lots of bulk items come in a big plastic wrapping that can be recycled. The main thing is, if the material can be stretched, you can recycle it. If it crinkles, you hold it and it goes crinkle, crinkle, that can't be recycled. But you'd be amazed, even for somebody who is bizarrely compulsive about not using grocery bags, as I am, the amount of this stuff that adds up is tremendous. So might as well recycle it, because it doesn't go in the landfill, it doesn't go in the ocean, and it does do something useful. So here's a little bonus information, because we also have found out how to recycle styrofoam. And here's a recycling bin for styrofoam with a Hopedale Green Team member there next to it for scale, you know, just to see how big it is. For a while, we had been collecting two, 3 times a year. The Green Team was collecting the styrofoam with the township, and it would get shipped away to be recycled. Now, it turns out that there's a big bin in the parking lot of the Middletown train station, and you can take it there anytime. You don't have to wait half a year and let it pile up. Again, it can only be clean material, and they don't want any food service items because that's usually not clean. And they don't want packing peanuts, because if you put the packing peanuts in a bin like this, they're going to end up all over the place. However, all is not lost. Okay, so this is just a picture of what you can do. You can't do peanuts, you can't do food service, but the hard stuff, you know, if you buy an appliance or something, it's going to be wrapped in that kind of material. But the styrofoam peanuts, along with bubble wrap and air pillows, lots of packaging material, they can go to UPS stores. And there's one over in the strip mall on Route 35 that's across from the old, you know, diagonally from the old Sears building. And I think it's got a ShopRite in it also. And they'll be happy to take it. So you don't have to be stuck with it, and they get to reuse it. It's all wonderful. So basically, that's the story for at least the recycling end of things. And I just want to throw in a little quick word about the Hopedale Green Team, and with a little bit about what we've done. Over the past, well, we've been going for on the order of a decade. I'm sure that Betsy Wilson can give you more information because she's really the person. But the Green Team has done things like putting a water filling station in at the high school. And we also got, with a grant, we got water filling stations into some of the parks so that you don't have all those plastic bottles being used and discarded. We were part of a group that got a community garden constructed in town. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but just would like to mention also that we've been able to get grants for all kinds of interesting green projects, and we are working to get ourselves certified by Sustainable Jersey, which puts us in line to get even more grants. So there are lots of people in Hopedale doing a whole lot of work to make the environment better, and I'm sure that many of the listeners here right now are among those people, so thank you all, and that's the story. Thanks a lot. How do I get out of the share screen? Boing.
There you go.
Okay.
I'll stop you. There we go.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Janet, and thank you. So good. And Deanie, put your screen back on. So really a nice combination of the big picture and then just what we can do in Hopedale. And I'm very glad, Janet, that you made that plug for the Green Team, because that's really important. And people, I think if some people are listening and want to join the Green Team, they can, right?
You can get in touch, and we have a very active group. I think people are working lots of people are working really hard. If I were to give you all the details, you would be here for a long time. And it is a way of helping the community. And, you know, we just hope it will continue. It's been kind of rough when we can't meet in person, things like that. But we hope to get back to everything.
Yes.
And we are still doing things actively. Yeah.
Okay, so there are a couple of questions. How will the ban on plastic or paper bags work for grocery home delivery or curbside pickup?
That's a good question. there's going to be more information coming out about that from the DEP, but those would be banned. So what we anticipate will happen is what they do in Europe, where the grocery stores will have like a tote, like a plastic tote, and your groceries will be in there, and they get transferred into a reusable bag. That's what we anticipate will happen, or they might come in cardboard boxes. So when you go to stores like Costco, they don't provide any bags, and so you just put stuff back in your cart, or you take a cardboard box that's filled. So we anticipate that's the way it's going to be.
Okay. Good. Where can we recycle number 5 and other plastics? Was that part answered, or I don't know?
No, unfortunately, as I mentioned, it's all a commodity, and right now, number 5s, there's no market for them. So unfortunately, they need to be thrown out. So to the best of your ability, if you can reduce. And there are some great programs that are coming on board or already started. So for example, there's a company called TerraCycle, which is a New Jersey company, and they have a service called Loop, L-O-O-P, and that is a fantastic product. So the way that works is it's a subscription product, because at the end of the day, none of us want these plastic containers. We want what's inside, whether it's the shampoo or the yogurts. And so you order let's say a shampoo, and that shampoo is going to come in like a nice bottle, like a stainless steel bottle. And when you're ready for a refill, you send that bottle back, and then you're going to get another bottle that's filled with the shampoo that you would want. So, and there's also bulk packaging stores that are coming up. There's one in Morristown, which I know is kind of far from you, but you look around and see if there's any subscription services online for reorder, and that way we can reduce the amount of packaging. And Janet, I love that you talked about styrofoam recycling and the Trex program. And that's the other thing, I just wanted to jump in. All of those other bags that you can recycle, I would first encourage you to see, can you reuse those newspaper bags to pick up pet waste? Can you use those cereal bags to pick up pet waste, or line your garbage cans with? So reduce that, and then if you can't, then go ahead and recycle them next. Does that help, Karen?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I would have thought recycling first would be better than reusing them.
Oh, well, no, reuse first, reuse and then recycle, especially because then going forward, we're not going to have those single-use plastic carry-out bags that a lot of people rely on to pick up pet waste or line their trash bags. So you'd have to go purchase them. And just as an FYI, those bags that are at the cashier that are currently quote unquote free, nothing's free in this world. You do pay for them. It's just that cost is hidden in the background with some staple items such as milk or food. But at the end of the day, you always do pay for them. So you can still buy boxes of plastic trash bags for sure. But just get in the habit of reusing everything you can. And then if you can't, then go ahead and recycle. But it's reduce, reuse, or honestly, it's refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Very good. Okay, so there were 2 on the restaurant. There was, wow, reusing plastic containers for me. Impressed that she brings her own glass containers for takeout. Don't know if my Chinese restaurant will do that, but I will ask. And then a follow-up to that is taking your own glass or Pyrex containers to a restaurant for takeout legal? I tried to do that a year ago, and the restaurants said they couldn't do it for health, legal reasons, or OTOH, maybe they just hadn't thought about it and didn't want to do that. Oh, on the other hand, maybe they just hadn't thought about it and didn't want to do it that night. Yeah.
So I find that a lot of businesses don't understand how to handle this properly. So they choose not to. They just, they kind of hide under the whole health code thing and kind of, say no. certainly this past year, there's a lot of sensitivity around it. But prior to that, the way the way it works here is as long as you bring in a clean container. So let's say you go to your favorite Chinese restaurant, and they plate your food and they offer you the plate. You can pick up the plate and put it in your container and hand the plate back to them. So that way they're not touching your glass container, and they can re-sanitize that plate. So that's really the way to do it. And you can certainly bring, for the last few months, when I go get a cup of coffee at Quick Check or Wawa, I bring my own reusable coffee cup, and I haven't had any problems. So I would ask first.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about this. Very good. All right, another question. The state of New York is talking about requiring producers who package in plastic to pay for the sorting and recycling of the plastic they use. Is New Jersey considering this also?
Really good question. So that's called extended producer responsibility. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's the only way we are going to push back against all the problems we have with the over plastic. We as consumers can do as much as we possibly can, but the producers have to take responsibility for the full life cycle of the product and the packaging. So yes, New York, along with 8 other states, have started EPR legislation. And we in New Jersey is something we're considering, but we haven't started that discussion. We are very happy with this particular law on the plastic bags and the styrofoam, but you're right, it is low-hanging fruit, and we have a long way to go. So there's also a fantastic federal act that was introduced during the Trump administration. And it didn't get a lot of traction, as you can imagine, but it's called the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act. And with the Biden presidency, we are hopeful that that will get some traction. And that's a fantastic federal act. I said it again. Maybe I'm just wishing it to happen, wishing it into existence, but it's the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act.
Okay, now just to be precise, who will be responsible for enforcing the law in New Jersey? This is our new law.
Yeah, so this is another question mark. I'm looking to DEP for more guidance on this, but the way the law is written, enforcement is going to come from DEP, the county health department, and the municipality. But the nitty-gritty of how it's going to get implemented as far as enforcement, I'm still waiting on details. So please check back on the New Jersey No Plastics website or the DEP website when that information comes out. Keep checking in.
Okay, and then is anything being done to educate, encourage, incentivize businesses to use more earth-friendly materials, e.g. for parcel packaging or food takeout containers instead of plastic?
Yes, definitely. I think that's one of the main components of this law is to encourage folks to move away from plastic and look at alternatives to styrofoam. There's a lot going on that front. There is a program called Rethink Disposables, which is really great. And there's a huge global supply chain problems. So this is another question mark on how to handle alternatives. That's why I'm encouraging folks to go to reusables and not do another type of disposable. So more information to come on that as well.
Okay.
So,
people are doing nice questions. There was one to Janet, if she knew of any plan for DEP to get a styrofoam recycling here in Homedale.
I'm not aware of one. And the main reason that I think it probably won't happen is a question of economy of scale, that we were collecting only 2 or 3 times a year, and you could fill up a truck in that time, but there's no point in just having something sitting there and not getting filled. it's easy enough to get over to Middletown for most people, and I think that's probably going to take care of it. I know that our DPW is telling people to go to Middletown. If you notice, you get those little we received a pamphlet from on Homedale Recycling, and it does include that information. It's really by the way, it's a very nice little pamphlet they put together, and people get it customized to their zone, so they even know exactly what date. They don't have to scrounge around and say what week it is and figure out things like that. So there's no point in doing something that really isn't efficient if there's something that's nearly as convenient and is very efficient. So
I think I can clarify that also. My understanding is this is a county-wide program, and it just so happens that the recycling is done at Middletown, but this is for the county, or the styrofoam. Also, they only collect number 6 styrofoam, which is the packing that comes with stereos and electronics. So you can't put in styrofoam cups, anything like that.
Yeah, and they make it very clear that anything that's had food in it is a no-no.
And they also accept only white.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, packaging, nothing else. Mm-hmm. So back to that question about incentivizing businesses, I also encourage all of us to use our voices and our wallets to speak to, go back and speak to companies. That, if you, like I said, beyondplastics.org, that's a great website. You can sign petitions telling Amazon to reduce the amount of shipping that they shipping materials that they use. So there are other options out there, and so I would encourage folks to look around, and certainly email me if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. They were wonderful. I think that's all the questions. I'll just double check one last time. Yep, I think you answered them all. So thank you very much, Ms. Checco. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackal, for coming and giving up your precious evening time to be with us and educate us about this really important topic. Thank you to the audience for joining us. Yes, thank everyone. We hope you liked it. And if you like this presentation, hope you will consider joining CELU. If you live in Homedale, there's a very good chance that CELU has had a positive impact on your quality of life due to our activism and our defense of Homedale's natural resources. If you would like to get involved in our community, your community, and meet some very nice people, join. Our presentation, we do this presentation once a month. Next month it's going to be on beekeeping. Mike Haberlin, the Associate Professor and County Agent from Rutgers Cooperative Extension, will be present on March 15, Zoom meeting, to discuss the joys and tribulations of beekeeping. And then Friday, April 16th, all CELU members are invited to join us for our annual membership meeting. Usually it's a potluck, but we're not doing potluck this year. So we are going to have a surprise entertainment on Zoom. So visit us on Facebook at Citizens for Informed Land Use CELU, and joining CELU is easy. Go to our website at www.homedale-celu.org, homedale-celu.org. Pay $20 and you can become a member. So thank you again for coming.
Karen, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Janet. Thank you all.
And yes.
Thanks to everyone. Yes.
Yes. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Regina and Mary Rose, for backing me up. Appreciate it. And good night, everyone. Have a great evening.
Here. Good night.